What's up, guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be starting the next portion of our Learn Global War 1936 series, in which I'm going to make a series of videos going through how to take a turn and the differences between an Axis and Allies Global 40 turn and a Global War 1936 turn. And to start off, I'm going to have this video, which is going to cover the production phase of a turn, and then we'll move on to combat movement, combat, non-combat movement, and finally a video about the place units and collect income phase. Before we get going, I want to point out that here on page 26, there is this chart that lists the order of a turn and how it works, and it's got a lot of useful information on it. This is probably one of the most useful charts in the rulebook, so make sure that you print this out, frame it, hang it on your wall, and do a midnight vigil for it every night. And before you know it, you will have the game down pat. All right, let's go. All right, let's talk about the production phase. The first thing listed is going to be to roll for peacetime income increases. That's obviously going to be most important for the common turn and some of the allied powers, mainly the US and the USSR. Most other major powers aren't going to have this section because they will already be at their wartime income, but you know, it could happen. Next up is going to be to roll for your tech rolls, and I'm going to focus here on Italy because they're going to be probably one of the easiest to explain. The way that technology works in this game, this is just going to be a brief summary, I'm going to have an entire video on technology, is that you're going to get one technology roll for free every turn for each major factor you have. So here, Italy starts the game with one major factory up here in northern Italy. So at the start of their turn, since they have one major factory, they will get one tech roll. Next up, the first thing that's going to sound like normal English to you Global 40 players is going to be to purchase units. And while it does sound familiar to you, it is going to work a little bit differently in Global War 1940. First off, just because there are obviously way more unit types in this game. Secondly, because not all of them are built in one single turn. So here you can look at the price. You know, infantry is $3, that's just like Global 40. And then all these new guys, you just pay the price. But then if we look at our ships, you'll notice that the prices aren't always just one number. And that's to signify that these are big structures and they cannot be built in one turn. You know, in Global 40, you're dropping battleships in one turn, and it's crazy if you think about it. You know, that is so not possible that it's actually kind of funny. So if we're looking at this light cruiser here, we want to build a light cruiser. That's going to be 4-4, and I'm going to show you what that means right over here. Okay, so who we are. This is our light cruiser. Our British player wants to build a light cruiser because he thinks he's hot shit. So what he's going to do is the first turn that he decides to build this, he's going to pay his $4. If you'll remember, the light cruiser was $4/$4. So he's going to pay $4 and he's going to set this down here on stage 2 of this build chart. And then on his next turn, he can pay $4 more, move this guy forward, and now it's in your place units box. It is all paid for. It is built. At the end of your turn, when you place your units, this guy can go onto the board. Congrats, British player. Now, another thing worth noting, not all of them happen in 2 installments. See, this battleship here is 5 installments of 5. So what we're going to do is the German player thinks he wants to build a navy for some reason. Yeah, right. He's going to put this battleship on here for $5. He's going to pay 5 more on his next turn. And finally, he's going to pay 5 more on the third turn. And now it's in the place units box, and he can put this battleship on the board at the end of his turn. Now, if you look at this handy dandy build chart, it shows you which units go where, including your facilities. So throughout the game, you may want to build some more air bases, right? They actually take 2 turns to build. So say we want to build an air base because it seems like a good idea to us. We've got these handy dandy under construction markers. You don't have to have these. I do. You know, they're nice to have, but it doesn't really matter what you use. Any kind of chip will do. what you're gonna do is, so an airbase takes 2 turns to make. So you're gonna plop it down here on your build chart. Say I'm building airbase, you pay the first installment, I think it's $3. And then you have to say where on the map you're building it. So say we want this airbase here in Calcutta, boom. If you have some extra air bases, you can throw that air base down there as well if you want. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you know that it is at the first stage on the build chart and that it is going where you want to put it when it is constructed. And then on your next turn, you pay $3 more, you finish your air base, and this under construction marker can go away, and boom, you've got a shiny new air base in Calcutta. Congratulations. And that is how your multi-turn production works in this game. It's pretty intuitive, and I really like this mechanic a lot. It's one of the main reasons that I wanted to start playing Global War 36, because it never made any sense to me that you could just plop a battleship in 1 turn in Global 40, you know. It took just as long to make an infantry division as it did a freaking battleship. So that's one of the greatest parts about this game, is going to be the multi-stage production. Next up on our list of actions for the production phase is going to be to make diplomacy influence rolls. This is a pretty niche thing, but for example, one of Germany's alignment conditions is it can try to roll to align Argentina. You know, they pay 2 IPPs, and then if they roll a 1 or a 2, they fully align Argentina. That's just what that's talking about. The US has some conditions where that happens as well, and that's about it unless you're playing with expansions. And finally, as you're building your units and moving your ships and facilities along the build chart, you're also going to be declaring your Lend-Lease in this turn. It's basically just the same as building any other old unit. Again, just like the technology, we're going to have an entire video on Lend-Lease, so I'm not going to go too far into it. But basically you can donate units to other major powers in this game, which again is a really cool thing that actually happened in real life. So it makes a whole lot of sense. And so at this point in your turn, you're going to buy all those units that you're going to be able to send to other countries. And that's about it for the production phase, guys. You make your peacetime income rolls, you make your tech rolls, and then you build your units. You move your units along the build chart, which is basically the same as building them, and you build units to send in Lend-Lease. So that's the production phase, guys. All right, I'll see you next time for the combat movement phase.